Hey, Steve here. Thank you so much for joining me. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at some creative ideas of breaking out of always playing in 4 or always playing in 3 or something like that, although 3 can be really interesting. We're going to look at some patterns of 5 and 7. We're going to be looking at some solo patterns, but we're also going to be looking at some chordal patterns. And maybe this will help you a little bit with your creativity in your songwriting or just in your soloing in general. So let's go ahead and just start off by looking at some groups of 5. We're going to look at 3 different examples, 2 different soloing patterned ideas, and a chordal idea. So the first one we're going to be looking at here, we're going to do is we're going to go up and play 20, 19, and 17 on the first string, and then 19 and 17 on the second string. So we have... Now, this could be anywhere, okay? The idea is I've got 3 notes on one string, 2 notes on the next string, which equals, of course, 5 notes. So you could create anything you want with this. But the point is I'm playing... And what makes it weird is if you're alternate picking like I do, the first time around you'd play down, up, down, up, down. But because you're ending on a down, the next pattern would start on an up, so the entire thing feels awkward the second time around because your picking is different. So I'm starting with a down, but the second time around I'm starting with that up. Now, that's how I play these things. I use alternate picking. Now, there is another alternative to this, and that would be doing what's called economy picking. And if you did that, what you would do is you'd play down, up, down, just like before. But then you would push that pick through and start with another down again, which would make it consistent. So you'd have... You see how I'm pushing that through? I end with a down, and then I start again with a down. That's called economy picking. Now, that feels incredibly uncomfortable to me, but it might feel wonderful to you, and if it does, that's great. For me, I grew up learning how to play alternate picking, so that's the way I approach this. So I'm playing down, up, and then up, down, up, and then down, because again, there's 5 notes on each one. Now, it isn't necessarily just how fast you can play it, although you might have that intention, which is great, but the goal is really learning how to feel that the group of 5, especially if you're doing what I'm doing with alternate picking, and then figuring out in what context could you use this. If you're writing your own songs, of course, you could write a pattern of 5, and your band could play in 5 for, a certain amount of time or whatever it might be. Or you can play in 4/4 time and just do the pattern repetitively until you come out even, or you could do the pattern a few times and go into something else. I mean, there's a million ways to approach this stuff. But it's kind of fun for the brain because it's something a little different than always just playing even patterns to everything. Okay, so the next pattern, what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and I'm going to play that. I'm going to play 0, 12, and then 15 and 14. So I'm playing 0, 12, and then what I'm going to do is go to 15 here, back to the 12, and then back to the 14. So that's 5 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you can see I'm starting on a low string going to a higher string, where here I was on a higher string going to a lower string, okay? High string in terms of pitch, right? Going to a lower string. Now I'm on this lower string going to the 5th string. So when I get back, I'm going down, up, down. Well, I can't economy pick through because I'm not going this direction, so I've got to come back up. So I'm going to go to the 0, sorry about that. And I'm doing that with an upstroke. So it feels, again, a little awkward the second time around because my picking is upside down. Okay, but it makes for a really great little idea. Now, the actual notes that I'm playing, you might want something that's a little less dark sounding or whatever. You can change it into any key you want or any scale that you want. But that's the idea, and trying to get used to that. For me, I can feel what I call inside and outside. When I play the first time, I'm stuck on the inside. I'm in between the fifth and fourth or fifth and sixth strings here. When I play the second time, I'm on the outsides of the strings. So when I'm playing, that's what I can feel in my hands and think about in my head. If I play it slow, I'm on the insides here. So I'm playing inside here. And then the second time around, now I'm on the outsides of the strings there. Okay, so I have... So that's what becomes comfortable for me as I play. Now the third example that I'm going to give you is a chordal example. So this one's going to be a little bit different, okay? Go to a clean sound here. And what I'm going to do is create a chordal progression, kind of using just picking through the chords. We can call it an arpeggio, but basically what I'm doing is playing C sharp minor, A, and B, but instead of using those chordal shapes, I'm using something, again, a little more unique to what I like. And so I'm going to be playing 4, 6, 8, and then 0, 0. And then I'm going to play 0, 2, 4, 0, 0 for my A, and then the B is going to be 2, 4, 6. Like that, okay? And these are often referred to as add 9 chords or different things like that, but again, we're not really doing a chordal study right now. We're just looking for some sounds and, most importantly, the way we're picking this. So what I'm going to do is take this first one here, and if I think about it, I've got 5 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be my pattern. So I'm going to keep repeating that. That's my pattern. So I'm just playing a group of 5 every time. Now for me, to make this comfortable for myself, the very last note that I play is actually going to be an upstroke. You don't have to do that, okay? But it just feels more comfortable for me, the very last note I play, to do it as an upstroke or upstrum, because it sends my pick back to the beginning. You see? So what I would do is something like maybe do that 4 times. And then maybe do the other 2 times. And again, it doesn't have to be any particular speed or anything like that. If you need to slow it down, and you want to change the amount that you're doing on each one or something like that, you can come up with some really beautiful ideas by doing something like this. But you'll notice that the picking of this is vastly different than the other ones because I'm not doing a shorter pattern that gets repeated in the group of 5. Okay, I'm actually making my way across the guitar from the ceiling to the floor here. And then I'm starting all over. So the pattern that I'm creating isn't alternate picking, it's down all the time. But for me in particular, the last note would be that upstroke. You know, you just got to kind of explore it and see what you might like with that. That's half the fun of this, okay? So those would be some ideas that you could do to create something that feels more like a group of 5. Now, when I write, when I play, all these different kinds of things, I love odd groupings like that because they just feel a little bit different. They take a little more practice to get used to, though, which may or may not interest you, okay? And there is no, written rule for how many times to play a certain one or, when to go to something. You just have to learn to explore this a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're now going to look at a pattern, or we're going to take these 3 examples, and we're going to look at patterns of 7 with all of these, okay? So instead of doing this pattern of 5 here, I'm going to turn that into a pattern of 7. I'm going to go back to my distortion here. So here what I'm doing is I'm playing the 2019-17 again, but this time what I'm doing is starting with the 19. So I'm going to go 19, 20, 19, 17. So that's 4 notes, and then I'm going to go to the next string and do 19, 17, which is 3 notes, which equals 7. So if I do this, again, you're going to notice I'm doing alternate picking the entire time, where you might want to do, again, that economy picking where you push through, and that would work here. Okay, the second example, we're going to go back down here, but we're just going to elongate this to make it into 7 notes. So I'm going to start off the same way, but I'm going to add 2 more notes. So I'm going to go and then add in 15 and 12. Now the difference here is I'm ending on the 6th string, and I started on the 6th string, so there's no hope for an economy picking here either. Okay, so that's how you could approach something like that and making that into a group of 7. Now you could go between 5 and 7 or do whatever it is that you'd like to do. Okay, so let's look at the next one here. Go back to my clean channel. Okay, now here I had that group of 5. Well, now I'm going to make a group of 7, and all I'm going to do is continue on with my arpeggiation. I'm going toward the floor. Well, I'm just going to come back up toward the ceiling until I get my 7 notes. So now what I've got here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm just going to the 2nd and 3rd strings here. Now again, for me, the comfortable pattern for picking would be an upstroke on that 1st string. You might be doing something completely different. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter. It's more the pattern that we're playing, the fact that we're going toward the floor and then back toward the ceiling again. And counting, feeling that group of 7. You know, it just sounds so neat, and with chords like these, it just sounds kind of ethereal, and I love the fact that that group of 7, I like 7 because it's a little bit longer, it takes a little while to get through it, a bit more than the 5, so it doesn't feel as rushed to me, but that's, again, a personal preference. But these are really great ideas for you to explore and see what kinds of things you can come up that break you out of the normal things you find yourself doing and getting bored with